What you got?
So hey, it's you were saying earlier that like people on food stamps and crime. You're welcome. Negatively correlate, but that's not true. The number of people on food stamps has been sawtooth trend increasing since like I don't know, was it like the 60s or 70s or some shit.
Yes, when
And
more
then
people
crime has also
are
been increasing.
struggling, yes, when people tend to struggle more,
Uh
they tend to
huh.
go on the public assistance. And
Okay.
again, if
What's
people are
crazy is
poorer,
crime rates
crime
were
also
lower.
does increase.
Crime rates were lower when people were poorer 100 years ago. In some cities
Do you
that are
think crime
now.
is up? Actually, yeah, that's actually a good question. Is crime
So
up?
what's
Is crime?
crazy? Hold on, what's crazy? No. Crime is up. It's a sawtooth. So you don't look at like the immediate rate. You don't look at the rate, the immediate rate. You have to look at like the whole trend. And right now it seems, oh, it looks like
Well,
it's
what
sawtooth
specific
up.
crime rate are you looking for? Theft?
I mean, I think it's across the board, but then there are some that are rising more than others, and then there are how they define crimes. It can create like this weird thing where you're just basically like unaware of certain things that people are doing because you're not measuring for it. But generally, yeah, it's like crime across the board seems to be increasing, despite the fact that the number of people on food stamps are also increasing. And if you're saying that like, well, poverty is what explains the crime, how do you explain that some cities some cities in New York that are right now extremely high in crime rates, plus it's also extremely high in percentage of people on food stamps. Those cities, those same cities that we're seeing now with like high crime and high food stamp rates, 100 years ago they were poorer than they were today. Yet their crime rate was much lower. So I would say like, no, there's probably other stuff going
Crime
on,
is
dude.
down.
Crime is down.
Hmm.
Okay, like what do you mean it's down?
Like, I mean, we can look at thefts, we can look at violent crime, we can look at murder. It's down.
Okay, so do you know what a sawtooth trend is?
You can tell me about it. I don't know.
It's like the stock market. It's not like just one line. It's going to have like it looks like a sawtooth increasing or decreasing. So it's like a oh geez, it's just like a the stock market graph. It's like a bunch of it goes up and down in like a span of a week, but then over the span of like a month, it'll be going up, and within a span of a year, it'll be going up. Even though it has like areas where it'll go up and down within a day
What particular
or within a week.
crime statistic are you looking for?
I think it was 2023 FBI statistics.
FBI crime statistics estimates for 2022 show that the national violent crime has decreased an estimated 1.7% in 2022 compared to 2021. Murder and
Oh
non
yeah,
negligent manslaughter recorded in 2022 estimated nationwide decrease of 6.1%. In 2022, the estimated number of offenses that revised the rape category saw an estimated 5.4% decrease. Aggravated assault in 2022 has decreased an estimated 1.1% in 2022. Robbery has showed an estimate increase of 1.3% nationally.
yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna say it seems to be a sawtooth trend. Maybe it's going down for violent crimes, but
Okay.
but yeah.
So let me ask you this. If we suddenly like pushed people off of food stamps, do you think that this would increase or decrease crime?
Well, it would be hard to say. In some parts of um,
I think that's
it would
hard to
probably have
say.
different effects. Yeah, it would probably have different effects depending on where you are. I know in some cities where they have like a really good handle on, where law enforcement has like a really good handle on people, like you would probably see like an initial spike, but then you'd probably see like less of an increase in areas where law enforcement basically doesn't do anything about like retail theft.
Okay. Well, okay. So I agree with you. I think that the gov that police should do something about retail theft, because I think that like a working society, it is basically a requirement to have like the right of private property, which includes even like little things such as food and clothing and things that people sell. I think you actually can have a working society without that.
I think
Makes
the
sense?
best cities to compare this in California is going to be Orange County and like Los Angeles, and then see what retail theft rates and the cost of I guess the cost of firms to do business in the cities of Los Angeles County and then like Orange County.
Okay. My main concern is and I don't know if you answered the question or not. I don't think you did. You said, do you think that crime would increase or decrease under food stamps? You said you're not sure. Why would you not be sure about that? I can tell you
Oh,
guaranteed
so like
what the answer is to
so
that.
there are. What's crazy is that like
I
there
don't
are
have to do any
cities.
math to determine that one.
No, there are some cities in the United States where people have gone more on food stamps historically. Not I don't know about very recently, but then the crime rate has also increased. So
I
I don't
agree.
think
When
there's I
more
don't think
people
there's a
go on food stamps, that's because there's more poor people. And when there's more poor people, there's increased crime.
I don't think that's always the case. I think if you have poor people, yeah, poor people are more likely to do crime, but that doesn't. They're not like guaranteed to do crime. I think poor people in areas where, for some reason, yeah, you can have poor people that don't do much crime in the same areas where you have like a poor neighborhood where there is a lot of crime. Usually, poor areas with a lot of crime is just a handful of people doing most of the crimes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question again because I just feel like you have not answered it. You honestly don't know whether or not that it would increase crime or not if you removed food stamps.
It would probably. I mean, I said it would probably increase crimes. In some
Yeah.
areas, you'll see sharp increases. In other areas, you would see significant less. You would see less increases, and maybe in some areas you might even see decreases. But over the system as a whole, probably you would see an increase in crime.
Yeah, so like if there's more crime, right? Probably you got to take people to jail, right? When they commit the crime.
You don't have to take them to jail.
I mean, are there instances where you take them to jail?
I mean, you can, but that's kind of a cost. It's kind of expensive.
I agree.
I
It
mean,
is
I guess you
expensive.
could just do what
It's
Singapore
expensive
does. You
having
could
a
just
bunch of
beat people.
police and policing people and, you know, arresting them because they're hungry and they're stealing food.
Well, would you agree that to instead of like wasting their time and taxpayers, what if we just give them like a caning on the street? I think some countries actually do this, and like I don't know, it probably has like a slight deterrence effect.
Have you ever heard of something called MVPF?
I haven't. What is that?
MVPF is the marginal value of public funds. So basically it's a little bit of a math equation. It is basically looking at the governmental or the benefit of the program versus the net government cost. And there are instances where the program itself ends up actually paying for itself in the long run. And MVPF shows that. One good example of this is food stamps because it reduces crime, it reduces less litigatory costs, it is less costs on the law system, and it is less people going to jail.
I don't
The
think
end
food
result
stamps are
is, yes,
causal
the
to
food
crime.
stamps themselves cost money, but it actually ends up being a net positive for the United States.
Okay, so we're gonna go in a circle, but I was saying like, okay, how do you explain that crime and people on food stamps has increased since like the '60s, and then maybe
When there
violent
are
crimes
more
are on
poor
a decline
people,
now?
that means that there is more crime. Also, when there are more poor people, that does also mean that there are more people on food stamps. You
I
agreed
guess
earlier saying that that by removing food stamps, it does increase crime. So
Yeah,
I
but,
agree with you. Yes, when
maybe.
people are poor, they tend to commit more crime. And yes, they also increase themselves on food stamps. But by removing it, you make it worse. And not only
I'm
that, it
pretty
ends
sure
up
you could get.
costing more than just having the food stamps to begin with.
So I guess how about this? I think if I'm sure, man, how do I explain this? Not everyone's the same. So I guess if some people get a little bit of help, they'll be on their feet, and then you have to just keep giving more and more help, and then more and more people get off of their feet. But then there's going to be a group of people that are so entrenched in what they're doing, they're not going to get off their they're not going to get on their feet no matter how much you help them. And I guess what I would like people to think about is maybe find other ways than just food stamps to get poor people to stop committing crimes.
Okay, sure. So you would say that there is like a, a cost of benefit analysis to this then, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, you could do a cost benefit analysis for literally
Yeah.
anything
So
once
like,
you define what your parameters are.
yeah. So like one example is the MVPF. We can look at the cost to benefit ratio in that term. And so if it
I mean,
shows that it has a very high MVPF, then certainly it makes sense to spend our money on that, because that means that the policy is being used for something that actually outputs to even more benefit for pretty much everybody.
who makes the
Everybody
MV?
wins.
Who calculates the MVPF?
I can give you the exact calculation. I actually
No, no,
posted
just
inside chat
who like
the
what? So
policyimpacts.org. I'll go ahead and show you the MVPF. Give me one quick second.
no, no, I'm just worried that if you're saying that you can measure cost versus benefit,
It's basically comes from it's a very prestigious economic journal that looks at like what is like the actual economic impacts of public policy. And one of the things that it looks at is, whether or not that like, does it actually turn a profit? Can it actually do something that it benefits society as opposed to not having it? And I
okay.
think
So
that's a
what I'm
really
trying to
smart way to go to like making sure that we have effective policy as opposed to ineffective policy.
I mean, that's fine and all, but I'm just worried that if they define, if they are extremely, if they're more restrictive on what constitutes cost and they're more accepting of what constitutes benefit, then you can see how this
I
can
get
lead to
it. I
like
mean, I can
the
run you
highest
through the
result.
numbers if you're interested in that. Like,
No, I
is
don't
that
care
really
about that.
interesting?
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
That doesn't sound very interesting. I'm just saying, like, hey, I mean, are they accounting what people could be doing with that money if they didn't? If they like, what is the opportunity cost of leaving that money inside of people's like possession in the hands of private citizens? Like, they probably don't do that, and I'm just thinking, like, well, go ahead.
I mean, I can give you an example I could give you a graph that shows like various government programs and the MVPF of those. Would that help?
No, no, I'm not here to. I don't care about looking at the data. What I'm trying to, I guess, it's just rhetorical. It's just that if they're not accounting opportunity costs of what could have been done with that money, then yeah, then it's just like cool. Like they're just gonna. You
Well,
can make anything seem like it's a net benefit, or you can make anything seem
not
like
through
it's
the
a net.
MVPF. It actually has
Not
to financially show that it works. You can't just, it will have a negative MVPF, and in which case there needs to be additional justification as to why you're investing in something that has a negative
Oh,
MVPF.
how about this? What are things that are considered to have a negative MVPF,
I can
if
pull that
any?
up. There are.
Sweet. As long okay, if they can do that,
So
then
it's
that's
actually
fine.
interesting. Like one thing that often has a negative MVPF is when it involves older people, and the reason why is because the older people, they really can't. They're not really paying into the taxes, and so any money that is being like generated, like it's basically just being spent on the old person, and so like they're not really going to see a whole lot of benefit off of that because they die. And so the end result is that it ends up being a negative MVPF. This doesn't mean don't take care of old people, by the way. It's just, there needs to be a good justification as to why you have a negative MVPF and yet we're still spending that money.
Okay. Do you want to move on to a hot take that I have?
Sure.
I think that food drives in the United States are a scam because if you're food drives for the needy and the poor in the United States are a scam. Because if you're poor, you're more likely to be fat / overweight and have type 2 diabetes.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I think that food drives for the needy in the United States are a scam because if you're poor, you're more likely to be obese and have type 2 diabetes.
If you go to a food, you're more likely to have type 2 diabetes?
No, no, no. I said food drives for the poor are a scam because poor people in the United States are more likely to be obese. Statistically, they're more likely to be obese and they're more likely to have type 2 diabetes.
Are you saying that like they should just eat less?
I'm saying we shouldn't be giving them more food.
So we should get rid of food drives?
I mean, I don't know if we should get rid of them, but they seem to be like
What am I
they kind
supposed
of
to
don't
do
make
with
sense
that?
logically, right?
What? No,
Right,
they do
logically
make
it doesn't make sense, right?
There are hungry
Wait,
people.
why though?
Because people are
Is hungry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if someone's hungry, they should just eat food. Is that basically what your take is?
Well, I mean, I get like you want to be like considering your nutrition and you got to be also considering like what's your intake. But I mean, at the same time, like I'm not going to sit there and dog on somebody because they're like poor and they're hungry. I think food drives are a good thing, even if they're fat and they have type 2 diabetes.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's counterproductive. It might be harmful.
I don't know what to say to that. Like, what am I supposed to do?
I mean, statistically, like just use logic and reason, dude. Just look at the stats, and it's like true, right? So
I
therefore,
mean,
isn't the logical thing to be
it's a
like getting
problem
rid of
of
drugs?
like, I mean, it's true that when you're poorer, you tend to have, you tend to be fatter. There's a positive correlation of people being fat and poor, which is a shame. In the well, actually, it's interesting. It's an inverse effect from
And
a lot
alcoholism
of
rates are higher
countries.
too,
Yes.
and like gambling addiction is also higher among poor people.
So, I mean, I can agree with you that there's instances where it's like it's harmful to eat even if you're hungry, but at the same time, like I think that's like up to the individual to make that decision. Like I don't think you're going to be able to coerce or create an environment, say for like I don't know a gulag system in getting people to lose weight that way. Yeah,
Don't
no,
you think it's like really
I think it's
detrimental
awful
to society
what you're
when you
arguing.
have a bunch of poor people like that then have to like go to the hospitals and because they're poor, their their medical costs are basically just like taking care of people like you and me who are responsible enough to like take care of
Whoa,
ourselves.
based? Are you arguing for a single payer healthcare system? Oh, based, dude. Me too.
No, no, I think we should actually ration healthcare, and then if a person like it just exceeds their healthcare for the year, then it's just like well, too bad.
I mean, there's rationing of healthcare on single payer systems, but again, like what I'm interested in is like people have access to their healthcare as opposed to not, right?
Don't I don't know. I think we need to ration it more. If I remember correctly, it's like over half of healthcare spending. Okay, so over half of the healthcare costs are it's like made by like 5% of patients or some shit like that. Like those people should get their healthcare ration.
I brain farted. What?
So like I think it's like healthcare spending or healthcare costs. Essentially, I forget how they calculate this. I don't know how they calculate it, but there was this statistic being thrown around where it's like 50% of healthcare costs are being generated by like 5% of the patient population. And I was just
Yeah.
like, wait a second, that sounds like a really bad thing.
Okay.
It sounds like the 5% of the patients are making the system as a whole unusable for the rest of the people.
Are,
I feel like
are
for
you
the good
saying
of the
that we
collective, we
shouldn't
should ration those
help those
people.
people?
Well, those people should just get their healthcare cut off at a certain point. Otherwise, you're just gonna harm everybody else.
Can I ask, what if you were that person?
well, then I would want everybody's money, and I would want to be the king, and I would want to be the tyrant, and then like everybody just has to do what I say.
I want you to be
But you know,
serious
fortunately,
here.
we don't. No, but fortunately, we don't like give people what they want individually. We consider what's good for society,
What
even if that
I mean,
means
I get
sometimes
it,
we
but
gotta
like there's like a
repossess people's
cutoff point,
property.
right? For like every individual, right? We would respect the right of life of like reasoning individuals, correct? Like they have a brain, they can think. Like you are placing no value on this.
No. In principle, yes, but like you have to understand, like the people that like end up having the people that suffer as a result of this, they also have brains and they're also thinking individuals. You have to
Also,
care about those people too.
also, would you say that like the 5% are they like using it, or would you say that they're abusing
I
it?
forget what it was. I think no, it's not abuse. It's just the 5% are literally just old as shit, and like they're particularly expensive to keep alive. But for some reason, it's like uh, they're they're being kept
I
alive.
mean, maybe it's possible somebody is abusing it. It is also
It's
possible
not.
that somebody is just using it. And I think like we should hold our empathy towards all human beings.
Theoretically, yes, but then we live in an environment where scarcity is real. So it's like you can have all
I'm
the
aware
empathy
you
that
can
you
have
want, but then
scarcity, we live in a modern economy, thankfully, so we don't have to deal with, the extreme levels of scarcity of the 20th century. I don't
I
see
mean,
your
there's
argument.
scarcity in all societies. But what I'm trying to
Yes,
say
I
is that, like,
agree. I'm
yeah, in
saying that like
principle, we can.
we don't deal with scarcity anywhere close to what is historically relevant in terms of scarcity.
Like Amender, you care about everyone, right? But then you only have a fixed amount of dollars that you can donate to charity, and the chances are
Mhm.
you're not just going to take like $500 and split that among 1,000 charities, giving them 50 cents a piece. That wouldn't make sense. You would
Yeah,
probably just choose a handful of charities and just give a meaningful amount. So
yeah,
that's the kind of scarcity that I'm talking about. I'm not saying that like we're
yeah. So we would
literally
look at
we don't live in like
we
a
would look
jungle.
at
What I'm
merit.
saying
We
is
would look at like systems that we know output to a benefit, fund that, and then don't fund the things that don't do that.
yeah, and I think the healthcare system, like the five whatever the hell percent it was either 5 or 10% of people that of patients that generate like over half of the cost. Like those people are clearly not benefiting us at all.
Um, I I don't I just don't understand your argument at this point. I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with this.
Consider I think we should accept the reality that healthcare is a limited resource and it's being disproportionately used by a small
But
amount of people
but
who, as a
hold on.
result, are
We
making
have
healthcare in the United
universal.
States
There's
kind
universal
of
health care
unusable
through
as a whole.
any. There's universal health care through just about any modern system. The United States is one of the only ones that don't have this. And what makes this worse is that we spend more per person in healthcare than any other country. So we have worse policies and we have worse outcomes and it costs more.
So I think the reason why it costs people in the United States, why that ends up happening is because, well, your per capita measurement is going to increase when you have a small amount of people that have unusually high healthcare use or healthcare needs. So I'm going to tell you like yeah, and I think healthcare rationing is a thing that many countries already do anyway. I think the United States has a lot to learn from. You know, it's like you know, it's I guess it's peers. Yeah, I guess we
I
should
got nothing
probably
else to
yeah.
say to you, man. I'm sorry. I just like I agree we should have like a single payer healthcare system and it has been tried in other countries and it is successful. So like I'm gonna go in that direction. I mean Canada is wildly successful in terms of its and they even have insurance companies. So it's like I have no reason to say that that couldn't be possible. And there's already groundwork that has been laid that's been relatively gutted by various insurance companies through Obamacare. But I think like if we just expand Obamacare, we can actually have those things. So anyway, that's where I stand with that. Anyway, it was good talking to you, man.
All right, I'll go back down into the audience. Will you